So I saw a documentary a couple of years ago. Really you couldn't make it up kind of story. Like life is stranger than fiction sort of thing. The story goes. This documentary was about three sisters living in Dublin. And I'm not sure if they were actually nuns or, I mean, they at least had a very strong Catholic faith, and they might have been nuns. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But the story goes that the three of them were living in this house together, and after a while, no one was really coming and going from the house, at all. And after a while, people started to wonder what was going on. So at the end of it, the police broke in, and they found the three sisters dead. They'd starved themselves to death, and they found so much of their writings they'd written, like diaries, journals, through their final days. And the gist of what they'd written was that they were preparing themselves to meet Christ, and this was their ultimate expression of faith, was to starve themselves to death. So there's something very powerful about that, and something very disturbing at the same time. I thought this was an interesting sort of story about faith and what we might do to express our faith, and in this case it was to starve yourself to death. So it asks us, I think, how strong our faith is, however which way we express it, It's called In the Hall. Front door was locked, the curtains were drawn, so we went round to the back door. We could hear a detuned radio, turned down low in the hall. We drew our breath so we could hear the sound, but then held them at what we saw. Two of them had died in the kitchen, and one more in the hall, with the radio on, detuned to drown out the sound of screams from inside, as she danced with her Savior alone in the hall. Sometimes faith is to radio stations detuned into wood, or a house where no one ever leaves and no one comes home. Yeah, yeah.
last to leave. She locked the front door. The candles on the table burnt out. She wrote and sealed her last letter and addressed it to herself in the hall. She held her breath and turned the radio on as the clocks died for the last time. Detuned static became her savior as she danced alone in the hall, with the radio on and detuned to drown out the sound of screams from inside. She danced with her Savior alone in the hall. She danced with her Savior alone.